Okay, we have Michael-Michelle Brown in today. I'm so excited to have this chat with you.
I'm even more excited.
Okay, so this is going to be a bonus episode. Normally I do like MMA. This is not MMA. It's a little bit MMA related. But Mikey does PowerSlap, which is fun. And so I had kind of seen you online a little bit, and then I was at Syndicate, and I forgot her name. I was talking to a girl at the front desk. Oh, what's her name?
Probably Taylor.
Okay, that makes sense. And she recommended I get in touch with you, and she was just like, really, like, she's so sweet. You need to interview her. And I ended up going on your Instagram and kind of like hearing about your story. And I was like, okay, I have to interview you.
Oh,
because
excited.
And she's so sweet because her, and I was like, okay, I want to interview you. I like your story. I don't really like PowerSlap. Is that okay? And you were so gracious about it and so nice. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And I appreciate you being honest too, because you said, up front, hey, I like you as a person. I don't necessarily agree with the PowerSlap, but we can have a conversation. And I think I wish more people would go about it like that instead of just, counting me out as a person just because they don't like PowerSlap itself. Because
Totally.
I'm so open and I understand, even myself coming into it, I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
Yeah.
So when someone else has mixed feelings or don't like it at all, I completely, understand. And I can see from your point of view why you wouldn't like it. Because, before I wasn't sure myself.
Yeah, but I totally get it. You're like, give me a chance. Don't just write me off.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of get into all that. But I wanted to talk first about like your story because I want to hear it from your words, but you've had such an interesting past year, I would say. And this is why I think two things can be true at once, right? Where I have some problems with PowerSlap, but also like, who the fuck am I to if someone uses something as a vehicle to like improve their life so much and change their life, like who am I to say that's like a bad thing, you know? So I would love to hear about your life before PowerSlap and how you got into it and what that looked like.
So basically I've always been an athlete, growing up since I was 5 years old. My parents put me in the boys sports. They put me in baseball, football. So I think a part of me has always been to be tough. That's always been something that I identified as and really kind of something I always wanted to be. And so I showed that all growing up. And after high school, I was just kind of unsure what I wanted to do because I wasn't playing college sports, but I felt like empty. So I kind of started training MMA for fun. And then the coach that was training me was like, you're kind of good at this. You should like come over, to the gym and try it out. And then so I went from the little UFC gym classes to training at Extreme Couture and just being around the fighters in the environment. I was like, this is absolutely something that I love. And I wanted like try fighting. So we trained for a little bit and then I accepted like my first amateur fight. I think I was about 21 when I accepted it. And then trained for that, had my first amateur fight, and I won by knockout, and it was the most, proud moment of my entire life.
Awesome.
Even now,
what were you fighting at? What weight?
170.
Okay. Because I'm like, sometimes it's hard for girls to win by knockout.
Yeah. And so I definitely, think one of my strengths, too, is to have a lot of power. But yeah, so I won that by knockout, and to this day, it's, the best moment of my life. But, I also, through all of that, had struggles with an eating disorder that sorry. Oh, no, sorry.
Dang, your time right away.
So, I struggled with an eating disorder since, my sophomore year of high school. And, even though I loved MMA and training and, had that first fight, I just always had the eating disorder at the forefront of my life. It kind of took over. And the fact that I even got that first fight, I don't know how I did it because I was in a bad position. But I always wanted to fight again, but I could never, overcome that. So I never did that. And then probably from 21 to 26, it just kind of escalated and my eating disorder got worse and I got less consistent in the gym. And then when I was consistent, I was constantly getting injured because I wasn't properly fueling my body in any way. And then at 25 years old, I checked into a inpatient treatment center for the eating disorder. And I lived there for 45 days and just pretty much had 24/7 therapy, and I really worked on myself, and, through God, I was able to get over that eating disorder. But, I was already 25, almost 5 years had passed since my first fight, and I felt like, okay, I still love this, but now am I too old to do something like for a career? And, I had all these mixed feelings, but I didn't want to be away from it. So then I was looking up, what I could do and all my options. And I've always wanted to commentate. That's something I've been interested in, but you can't just start commentating for UFC. So I'm like, where can I start? So I came across PowerSlap and I was like, okay, like I could see myself getting into this. It's owned by Dana White, all the right people, put myself in front of them as a commentator. And so I kind of messaged them, and then they got back to me and was like, we need a female in Vegas to do this. And I'm like, okay.
You just messaged them?
This was like last year, so it was that. I know, right? So it was still like pretty new. Okay. So yeah, I just pretty sure I just messaged them, and they're like, okay, like we need a female in Vegas to do this. And then I watched the guys do it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like I would never do this. And then I saw the girls doing it, and I was like, I can absolutely go in there and hold my own against these girls.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do one power slap and that's it. And if they try to get me to do 3, I'm going to say no, just 1. And then I want to go commentate. So I had my 1, I won, and it was such a fun, amazing experience. And it was so much less damage than what I had thought.
Okay.
So now here I am today getting ready to compete for the championship. And yeah, just PowerSlap randomly became my life. So
yeah, that's crazy. It just happened out of the blue. Going back a little bit, because I kind of mentioned over text that I have like a somewhat similar experience. I never went to inpatient treatment or anything like that, but most girls, I would say, had like struggled with some form of disordered eating when I was in high school primarily. Like definitely was like underweight and definitely really struggled with that. And I felt like up until my early to mid 20s, like that food noise, like I literally could not stop thinking about food.
Yeah.
And I would gain a bunch of weight and then I'd lose it. And then it's like constantly everything I thought about. But then I found Muay Thai. And it's weird when you start like martial arts because everyone talks about their weight and it's just weight.
Yep.
It's not a good thing or a bad thing. And even by just tracking my weight for fights, like it just became like not charged at all. And like I literally haven't felt that way about food since. So it was just such a vehicle for healing from that, for me at least.
And I think too, like you said, when you get into the sport of any kind of martial arts, and now I'm talking like, probably less PowerSlap, more martial arts, and you're in the environment where everyone's talking about their weight, and it's like you said, there's no emotion behind it. It's just kind of, this is how much I weigh,
No, people ask you, like, oh, what's your walk around? Like, how much do you weigh right now?
Sometimes I catch myself asking people how much they weigh because it's so normal just to go up to someone, how much do you weigh right now total? And then say, oh, you need a cut. Like, but in the MMA world, it is so...
It's normal.
It's normal. It's not offensive. And then, I'll ask a friend how much they weigh or if they need to, like, cut. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. That was actually so wrong. Right. But yeah, it takes the emotion out of it. Even now, it is kind of weird to know that everybody knows how much I weigh when that used to be my biggest fear is somebody knowing my weight. But it's so freeing because now I talk about it, and if I'm overweight or
no one really cares, right?
Yeah, no one cares. And I realize it's really not that big of a deal.
They care if you don't make weight, I guess. But that's all it is. It's not like some like moral like assigning if it's good or bad. That's kind of how I felt about it. So I felt like that was really healing for me, at least. And I'm sure like PowerSlap's very similar. Like it's just, what weight I need to be at to compete.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically. So that is awesome. When did you get the call to like do PowerSlap?
So it was, I want to say November of last year. We were in talks, and then I got the contracts around that time.
How did you try out for it? Like, how does that work? So, okay, they have so many questions, and I purposely didn't look them up because I wanted to be curious.
Well, I don't even think the answer would be out there because everything is so new that I don't even know the answer to a lot of questions. But I know it's changed now, but for me, the way that it came about was, wait, what was your question?
How do you try out for it?
So now there's tryouts. Okay. So the girls will the girls or guys do a 2-day combine. So they'll go to the UFC Apex. They'll learn all the rules to make sure they still want to do it. Then they have like veterans of the sport come in and kind of just say, uh, let's see you slap, let's see you like brace for it. How strong are you? You know, your abilities. And then based on that is if you're going to get the contract or not. For me, I was in it so new that I didn't try out. I basically submitted a picture of myself, my Instagram handle, and I think I had like maybe 1,000 followers at the time and like 5 posts and then a brief description of like why I want to do PowerSlap. And I didn't meet anybody until I got to media day. Even there was not even a lot of talk about it to where a week before the competition, I'm like, am I still doing this? I haven't heard anything. They told me to show up, so I'll show up. But like, there's no talks. But
Yeah.
now it's changed a lot to where there's more talk and there's an actual tryout.
So more people want to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing about being in the organization as one of the first, because I get to grow with them. And it hasn't even been a year yet, and it has changed so much.
The opportunities you're getting, it's crazy. You're at the AMAs, weren't you, or something like?
Yes, I was at the AMAs 2 days ago.
That's fucking crazy.
It was so crazy, and even now looking back at it, I'm like, I can't believe that was an opportunity for me, because it's not something I ever thought I'd be doing. So
yeah. And when you do something like MMA, it's really like, I mean, I said this before, you have like 8 years to like, to like really, really want it and train for it, but you just got like dropped in to this thing.
Exactly.
It's so fun. Well, I'm glad you're writing it out, like I would never like go you for like, again, like changing your life like that. I'm never going to like fault anyone for doing that. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's been like, you don't have to share specifics, but I'm sure from a financial perspective, it's like changed your life in that way too, just for the opportunities you've been getting.
Absolutely. Definitely the first one, winning that, I got my signing or like my show money, the win money. And then after that, I didn't see too much because that one wasn't live. So nobody really watched it. There was clips of it. It wasn't until my match in March against Paige where I didn't only get PowerSlap money, then I started to see like sponsorship money come in.
Right.
And it came so fast. I think I like got sponsored the night of the match, like my first one. And it kind of opened my eyes to, wow, there's really like a career with this, not just let's do this for fun. And then, I got to quit my job like 6 weeks ago. So now I just do this full time. And
congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
I can't believe she walked in here being like, I'm so surprised. Like, I can actually make money doing this. But I'm like, yeah, you can make so much money. You're good now. Sorry, that is awesome. Okay, so I have all my morbid questions. Were you concerned, like, I mean, my biggest thing that, I brought up to you, my one concern, okay, let me start by saying the thing that I will say that's nice about PowerSlap is that I think it suffers from, like, bad optics. Mm-hmm. I think that, like, when you have something like the WWE, we know it's for fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun. Like, it's not real. We know that, and the audience, like, buys into that, and they're like, we're playing. It's fun. And I think that because maybe the association with Dana White or the way it's set up, people tend to associate PowerSlap with the UFC and like it's a sport. And I think that's a problem because I think it's more entertainment. And I think if people shouldn't compare the two necessarily because I think it doesn't work in PowerSlap's best interest. I'll say that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think most of the hate comes from the lens of looking at it as if you're watching the UFC.
Yeah, which like it's not.
It's not. Yeah. And just like you said, when you're watching WWE, you're watching it knowing what it is. It's there to entertain you, so you enjoy it. So when you're watching PowerSlap, but you're watching it with the lens of this is nothing compared to the UFC. This is not, they're not great athletes like UFC athletes. Okay, nobody is saying this is a fight like a UFC fight. So,
right.
Yeah, maybe your argument of it's not a great fight or, compared to the UFC is right, but nobody said it is the UFC.
It's different.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just kind of the biggest issue there. And I think a lot of, just like you said, so it is a sport just because that's, it's commissioned as a professional sport, but yes, you're right, like entertainment. It's entertainment. And, you do have to be strong and you have to be tough and you have to have a lot of things to go up onto the stage. But, when I'm going up onto the stage, I'm going to prove myself and be tough, but also I'm going to entertain. And, when you're in the environment live, it's for entertainment and all that. So I think it's a lot more enjoyable when you watch it that way.
Yeah, I do think there's a big group of people who don't like it because they're like, well, it's not real fighting. I'm like, yeah, but like, that doesn't mean it's not fun. Like,
Exactly.
So I will give you that. Like, I think that's totally like bad optics. I hear like people make the wrong judgment about it. My main concern that I brought up with you is I feel like the brain trauma.
Yeah.
And I know there's like complexity to it. Like for example, I'm sure you don't spar very much, and like sparring is like where most of the brain trauma happens in MMA, right? But to me, it just feels like the piece of not being able to defend yourself is kind of like I don't know. It feels like more of an ethical. Like I feel like you should be able to defend yourself in some way. To me, what's the impact of that feel like compared to a punch? Like, do you feel like you get rocked or?
So, I've done 2 competitions so far, so that's like 6 total slaps basically. And I will say of the 6 slaps, 3 of them hurt and 0 of them rocked me. Like 0 of them made me feel like I was going to pass out or black out. Really, my skin hurt a lot. I mean, my jaw did hurt.
Right.
But compared to even just light sparring, I've taken so many more shots in light sparring or even like classes than I have in any competition for PowerSlap. And I agree when I went into it, because I can't even fully explain to you the feeling, like it's kind of one of those things, if you don't get hit that way, you can't fully understand. So I've still been trying to figure out how to articulate it. But for me, it's more of, it hurts, but I haven't felt like I've been in a place where I've been nervous about the brain trauma. Yeah. And again, I'm just speaking for myself because,
Yeah, of course.
everybody's been hit differently. And especially like when you compare the girls and guys, those guys get rocked, But I will say I also boxed a few weeks ago and I had a really short camp. I had a 2-week camp and then I fought. And in those 2 weeks, just in the sparring alone,
Boxing sparring's fucking crazy.
it's crazy.
It's a fight.
And girl, that really is what opened my eyes because I was like, wow, PowerSlap, I mean, I get my body ready and I get myself ready, but I'm not getting hit at all getting ready for it. I'm only taking 3 total. I don't even know how much I'm taking in sparring. And even though I can defend myself, even the best of the best isn't slipping every punch,
Right.
And, sometimes you get caught. And so for me, the argument, if you're just talking about in general brain damage, yes, just like all the other combat sports, you are taking a hit to your head. So that's nerve-wracking and, the argument's there. But when you're comparing it to other combat sports and to say that it's worse, I don't think it's worse. I think it's actually...
I think boxing's the worst.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. I think boxing, MMA, even Muay Thai and all that, you're taking a lot more damage than you are in PowerSlap.
Yeah.
So even though you can't defend yourself, you're still only taking a certain amount,
I think that's totally fair. I think the other pieces that have like given me pause is one, because I've watched like the guys mainly where... So usually if you're in a fight and you get rocked or something, like the ref can tell if you're like a little bit out of it or stumbling. But when you're in something like PowerSlap, I feel like you could hide it really well. It's like, because you're just standing. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to move. And when it comes to concussions, it's not necessarily that first hit. It's the successive hits. So I feel like it lends itself to more of those types of injuries. And then I could be talking out of my ass right now, but I feel like there's probably a group of people who do PowerSlap. I'm not saying you, I'm just talking in general, who are maybe like want the money, like are more economically disadvantaged, at which fighters are too. But fighters also have like 10 years to learn about concussions and to learn about like the best way to protect their brain. Because like people talk about it all the time in the fighting world. But if you're just getting dumped into PowerSlap with no experience, you may not have like, I don't know, informed consent.
Yeah, I guess,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, especially with PowerSlap, they really just kind of show the highlights. So you don't really see the in-between or the lead up to it. But during the match, there is a lot of, what's the word? Like precaution?
Yeah,
Like precautions.
precautions. Yeah.
There's a lot of precautions when it comes to the head trauma. So you might see the guy fall and it looks like he's just getting back up and competing, but there's an 8 count. And then not only that, the ref is going to have you take some steps to the side, take some steps forward.
Do like a little check.
Yeah, and even though it's not super extensive, it's more extensive than what they do in the UFC. And I will say they do protect you in that way. And there's a lot of times where the guys think they're covering it up. And even to the, regular eye, it looks like this guy's fine. And I've seen the ref call it off. So I will say they do a good job at that. Like you said, I mean, there is going to be some head trauma, you can't get away from that. But leading up to it too, I took like a whole 4-hour course about head trauma before my first one at the PI. So they had some PowerSlap strikers were invited to that as well as like UFC fighters. So there's like information out there and stuff, but yeah.
I feel like if you didn't know, if you hadn't like competed in MMA beforehand, you'd walk in knowing like anything about head trauma or anything like that, you would come in kind of informed, I guess. And I'm sure you would have thought about it because you're getting hit.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of based on the person.
That's fair.
I think it's important to do your research because, like I said, I did a lot of research before. I literally like wrote a paper because I also had to tell my parents that I was doing PowerSlap, and
Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, girl, I was the most scared I've been. I was 100 times more scared to tell my mom and my stepdad that I was doing PowerSlap than I was going into the match. I literally sat my brother down. I said, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm having a tough conversation with your mom and dad today." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, what?" I said, "Have you ever heard of PowerSlap?" And right away, my brother was like, "Yeah, they're not going to be happy."
Oh my God.
And I was shaking. So for 2 days, I already knew. I didn't have the contract yet, but I knew I was going to do it. And I'm like, man, how am I going to tell my parents? And so I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write them a paper as if they're my professor. And I'm going to do the pros and cons because, I'm not going to just say it's all amazing. But I really felt like all the pros outweighed the cons. So I wrote this whole paper of how fast the organization's growing, what my career can look like, what it could do for me. And then I also wrote the cons okay, yes, you do get hit in that, but then I try to put some, but, not as bad as if I'm doing MMA because I also do MMA, And, sat them down on the couch and I was like, I need to talk to you guys. Immediately, they thought I was pregnant. I was like, girl, this might be worse though for you. And then I was like, I think I said, have you guys ever heard of PowerSlap? And immediately my stepdad was like, nope. And my mom had no idea what it was. And then I think he showed her a clip and she's like, oh my gosh. I was like, why that clip? And then, they were just basically like, we support you. We don't necessarily support this. And then going into the first one, it was a little bit of, I would say, tension, but they were not, they knew their daughter was going to go up on a stage and possibly be knocked out in front of a bunch of people, so they weren't super excited for it. But after the first one, I think they saw that everything that I told them could happen in the positive light kind of started happening, and then they got to actually experience it, and now they're my biggest fans, so it's nice. And then my dad is crazy. He's like a hockey player, loves fighting, so he was, as soon as I told him, he's like, that's so cool. So but cute. Now all 3 of my parents are super on board, and
I'm glad they're supportive. That's awesome. So I was just saying earlier today that a lot of my friends are fighters, obviously. I watch a ton of fights, no problem. There's something in me, when my boyfriend fights, that short circuits in me. Cannot watch. I freak out. I can't imagine, one, if it was my kid, and 2, at least when I'm watching him, I know maybe he'll slip, he'll defend himself, but knowing that you're gonna get hit and that anxiety, that had to be so much for them to deal with the first match.
Yes. And the craziest thing too is before it's just the UFC, they have, when you're in the locker rooms, they have a big old screen and you're watching everybody go before you. God. So I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for my turn. And I know my parents are in the crowd and I'm just seeing everybody before me get knocked out left and right. And all I can think is my poor parents are watching everybody get knocked out, waiting for me to go next. And I wasn't scared for myself because I don't want to get knocked out, and I do take head trauma serious, but I'm not necessarily afraid of it. If I get knocked out, take a little nap. Don't want it to happen, but it happens. But
And it's better if you just got knocked out in one.
that's what I say. I'm like, all right, it's embarrassing, but it happens. But I was so scared and I felt so horrible sitting there because I knew the feeling that my parents were feeling. And I was like, man, I wish they didn't come so early and have to sit through this. But, I got up on the stage. I didn't get knocked out. I didn't get rocked. So it all worked out. But
Wow.
it's a crazy feeling sitting there waiting for your turn.
Did you prep at all beforehand, or what was your first time doing it, the first time you had been slapped like that?
Like I said, it's so new. I was like trying to figure out, how do I prep for this? I didn't know anybody that did it. I was like looking online. There's nothing online, So I just did my best. And I'm thinking, okay, should I be getting slapped? So then I have a friend in the UFC that I know has been invited to all the power slaps beforehand. So I messaged him and I was like, or I saw him at Syndicate and I was like, can you help me get ready for this power slap? I don't really know what it is. I've never seen one, but I know you've been to a few.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what we're doing. So I started practicing like on the bob. And then I was like, damn, this is hurting my hand. Like, I can't keep doing this. So then I was like hitting a pad and that was kind of hurting my hand too. But I was like, keep going. And then he's like, you should slap me. And I'm like, should I? And he's like, yeah, you got to. So I slapped him a few times.
Oh my God, what a friend.
Oh, I love it. But then he was like, I think I need to slap you. And then I was like, yeah. And he's like, at least to see. So then I did let him like slap me a few times, not as hard as he can, but just to see if I flinch or anything.
Right.
But now going into it, I realize I know I don't flinch. So now I don't get slapped at all. I don't need it. Maybe like a noodle, but
I think it's kind of like people make the argument for hard sparring a lot that like, oh, you need to know what it feels like to do. And I don't really subscribe to that. I kind of feel like you have a chin or you don't, and you're tough or you're not. Honestly,
I agree.
And I don't think that practicing getting hit is going to really do all that much for you.
Yeah. Other than like make it easier for you to get knocked out if you do get caught there.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or kind of psych you out before you're going to get in the ring anyways, or do your match. It's a fight match. How do you?
I call it a match or a competition.
Yeah. You're gonna get in there anyways. Like there's no point in practicing. Yeah. So you practiced a couple times getting slapped, but how did you feel after like that first time? Were you like, okay, I got this? Like
on the stage?
Yeah. Like I'm
the first slap. Oh my gosh. I had no idea because I think I know I'm tough, but you could be the toughest person in the world and, not have a chin. So I'm just praying to God that please don't let me get knocked out. And then I remember like I'm standing there and I'm face to face with her. My first opponent, she was a UFC veteran, like this tough girl.
Yeah.
And me, I was just a girl with one amateur fight. And I'm looking at her and she's about to hit me. And I was just like, I literally just praying, please don't knock me out. Please don't knock me out. And then she hit me and it kind of hurt. And then after that, I was like, yep, I got this. I'm, not getting knocked out. It felt so good. And I know it sounds so crazy, and it probably just is crazy, but I do love getting slapped because the feeling afterwards, I just feel so like proud of myself that, because it is scary, as much confidence as I have, it's so scary, but afterwards I'm like, I did it. I pushed through the scariness. I'm tough as hell.
And yeah, that's like, it's not the same as like an MMA fight or something, but it's similar feelings. I'm sure you have a ton of adrenaline. Yes. And yeah, I'm sure that's like that feeling of relief after. I feel really good.
And I feel like, I get to prove myself,
Yeah.
I think I'm tough. I know I'm tough, and I get to show everyone else I'm tough.
That's awesome. Look, I love watching fights, obviously, but my favorite way to kind of like up the ante a little bit, make things a little bit more interesting, is throwing a wager on it. Now, some of you guys may know this already, but I actually started my combat sports journey with Muay Thai. And Muay Thai in Thailand, like you can't have that without sports betting. I have so many fond memories of betting on a fight with my trainer in Thailand while we're watching some fights, or with like random people around me. It always made things so much more fun. It was a way to connect with people. And my bookie is the modern 21st century version of this. It gives you like a little extra personal stake in a fight. So if you want to do it, my bookie is the place to do it. And on a personal note, I love my bookie. I've really enjoyed working with them. They have been so supportive of this project. They've been awesome to work with. So if you want to make a parlay on some upcoming fights and support the show, like the best way to do that is going to mybookie.com and using code Kennedy. It helps me, it helps the show. It also gives you a 50% bonus on a deposit of up to $1,000, so it helps you. Once again, that is code Kennedy, Kennedy. Okay, back to the show. So you've had 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I've seen some videos. It doesn't. So at first I thought it was like you were throwing a hook, but it doesn't. I looked at it, it doesn't look like the form is for a hook.
Mhm.
Is it totally different or?
It's so different. And that's how I messed up going into the first one because I kind of thought it was supposed to be like throwing a hook, like the same rotation and the same way, you kind of keep everything tight, but actually it's not. So that one hurts you and you don't get the right amount of speed on it. Really, from what I've been learning and from what I've really just been learning from the guys that have been in it a while is you want it to be quick and you want your hand to be more like a whip. So it's like you want it to kind of be like flimsy and just speed is more important than power when it comes to knockout, is what they're saying. So really, I just try to like move my body as much as I can, but you can't move your feet, you can't twist your feet or anything. So it's all about your upper body and just kind of like, and you have to place it perfect. So it's really just about placing it perfectly and trying to be fast. And I'm still trying to figure that one out.
So yeah, there's no clear probably like training regimen. You just kind of like figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and you have to hit flimsy stuff, but because your hand and everything hurts so bad afterwards. Like my hand hurts way more than my face after. So I can't
There's a
practice
way,
much.
like I know for bare knuckle fighting, they'll like grind their hands into like sand and stuff to like toughen up the knuckles. I don't know if you could do that with the palm of your hand though. Probably some ways to.
I like just started with a new gym that has this machine where you kind of like you do this and it strengthens your hands.
Huh.
And I feel like my hands have gotten stronger, but that also might just be me. So I've been trying.
Let's make it out as good as some monkey bars. So it always like rip up my hands. Okay, so you do that. What else do you do to train? I imagine neck exercises, right? That seems like the only fit I can think of for defense.
So pretty much just whatever like boxers and MMA fighters do for their neck is kind of what I do. I also really focus like on my traps. By the time I get on stage, I'm gonna be like my traps up to here, like a bodybuilder. That and then like core strength, and then and then other than that, going into the last one, I had to cut a lot. I think I cut like 20 pounds, and I was just focused on making weight this time. I'm so lucky because I'm like 2 pounds from weight. So I can really just focus on building muscle this time. And I'm a lot more comfortable at this. So like I said, it's so new. I don't even have a certain training because the first time and the second time I trained completely different. This time I'm doing it completely different than those two. But from experience, I think just the strength is really, what's most important. And then just kind of I know what Paige's face feels like now, so it is like kind of easier because I'm like, okay, I know how she like tenses up, so I like picture it while I'm training.
And I imagine like fight camp, so you don't really need cardio, right? Like, how does it compare to like a typical like MMA or Muay Thai camp from your experience? Like very different, but what are
so different? Completely different. And not to take away anything from PowerSlap, but so much easier because you don't have the cardio in your mind. You're not sparring. Really, you're
technique,
just
right?
Yeah,
you're some strength.
Yeah, it's just mentally making sure you're in a good spot mentally and making sure you're as strong as you can be. But all the things in a fight camp, the sparring, getting ready on all different sides. You don't really have that with PowerSlap, so it is nice. I will say because it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
which I don't want to, people to be upset with me for saying that. It's just so much easier.
Well, I think that's like a granted. Like, there's just so many more factors when you look at something like MMA, and like the cardio alone is like that. That's not discounting whatever you do, but it's different. It's like completely different. But I have to ask because people like often compare the two, and I'm very interested. So you went from having like 1,000 followers to like, what are you at, like
almost 50?
Almost 50.
Yeah,
which is a lot for Instagram.
Yeah.
How has that changed? Like, do people ever recognize you? I'm sure you get a bunch of weird DMs. So like, how has that transition been? I love Mikey has in her profile that she's not an OnlyFans creator. No, that gives you a sense of the DM she's getting.
Yes. And no disrespect to anyone that is, but just, I don't know what it is about me, but everybody was just assuming you're
attractive.
Yeah.
That's why.
So I remember I was in an interview when I got introduced to MIKAEL-MICHELLE, PowerSlap athlete, OnlyFans creator. And I was like, oh no, I don't do OnlyFans. Or I was like, no OnlyFans. And then he's like, oh, you don't want to talk about your OnlyFans? And I was like, oh,
Oh
no,
my
I
God.
just don't have one. And then he's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. So that, and then just so many people in the DMs. And I was like, you know what? Let me just, first things first, don't have it. So there's no
I
confusion.
cannot even imagine, like, and this isn't like on purpose or anything, but most of my content is like talking head videos, right? Like if I'm just like talking about MMA, and I get so many like OF shit, and I'm like, dude, you're seeing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you think I'd be advertising. Like, that's not, so like I can't. And you're cute. So I think guys like make that association. Like I just can't even imagine the bullshit that you could
Oh,
be.
yeah. Oh, my gosh. And then, too, like, or I'll meet a guy, and he's like, so what do you do for a living? And I'm like,
Oh yeah, so you're dating. How's that?
yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
That's got to be funny.
It is funny. When, especially, like, if I meet a guy organically, like, in person, and they, like, ask me what I do, and I'm like, I don't know how to word it yet. So I'll, like, try do different things out. I've been saying professional face slapper, like, then I'll be like, have you seen PowerSlap? And I'll be like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I do that. And they'll be like, okay. And then I can kind of see their wheels turning, and I'm like, yeah. So nobody knows how to react. I don't know how to say it. They don't know how to react to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to date. Girl, it's so weird. I don't know.
I can't even imagine. Like, I want to know. So when you're like a fighter, you know, the classic ones, it's like, oh, I bet you could beat me up, or I bet you're tough, or whatever. Like, is there something that guys will usually say to you? Or
They
like,
slap me in the face. I get that all the time. And oh my gosh. And especially if I do like the guy and then he starts saying, I'm like, oh, you're weird.
Yeah.
Or like, I just posted about this. I was talking to this guy, and then he like knew that I did PowerSlap. It was kind of cool because he recognized me from PowerSlap.
okay.
And then at kind of towards the end of our conversation, he's like, you know, I just want to let you know, I really love watching you get hit in the face. Oh, and then I was like, yeah, you just killed it. Like, why? Like, I understand that's my job, but to say that is so crazy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. So yeah, I get that a lot. So then now it's like, okay, is it a red flag that I don't like when a guy like loves my job too much? Because, you know,
I think if you're an MMA fighter, it'd still be weird if they're like, I love watching you get hit. Like, that's, no.
that's so, yeah, why would you say that? So I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to navigate that, but
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That is a very unique experience. I'm not like, I don't think you have a lot of girls that you can like talk with about that. That's really funny. That is weird.
yeah.
Is there any other ways that your life has changed since then? Because it's been such a fast trajectory for you.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's what I wanted to mention. So in my first one, I had 1,000 followers in December, and December to March, I think I got to like 3,000, but literally like it was 2 weeks in March where I went from 3,000 to like almost 50,000 the week leading up, and then the week after the competition. And then after the competition, I had no intentions on quitting my job because I was a server, and I like loved serving and stuff. And financially, I just always like want to, you know, make the best decision, not the easiest decision. And then in just a couple weeks, everything changed, and I was like, man, I think I should quit my job and really focus on this. And so that all came up, and that was only like 4 weeks ago. So it's been like 6 weeks, I feel like, to where my life has really changed. So I'm still trying to catch up on everything. And
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Crazy. So
yeah. And are you getting like a ton of sponsors now and opportunities?
yeah, I've been getting
Your
a lot.
content's really good. Like,
so much.
I'm sure you're getting them because you're doing really great content for just starting in this.
And I'm trying to figure out how to navigate all that. So I have been getting a lot of sponsorships and a lot of people interested, but I also know I can't just take everything just because it's more money than what I have now. You know, I don't want to like say yes and then I'm missing out on a future opportunity. So I'm trying
It's like conflict of interest kind of.
yeah, even just, I think, you know, as well as I did the last one, this next one, you know, I'm going to grow even more. So it's just kind of in a balance and trying to figure it out. And also, I don't even, you know, I was a server, so I'm not writing emails. And now I'm like trying to be all professional and act like I know what I'm talking about.
GPT is.
Yes. Oh, girl, that's my best friend right now.
It's great. Have you used a new update? It updated like a week ago. It's way better. Yeah, maybe it's on the pro version, but
that's like my best friend, my therapist, my manager right now.
I know. I get a little concerned about data privacy on that because I use it for everything.
Oh my gosh, if mine ever got leased, they'd be like, this girl is robbing him.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have a manager at all doing the social, or are you just trying to do it all on your own?
I was trying to do it all on my own, but I've been struggling with keeping up with it. So I am kind of in the market for a manager, but I want someone that's not, because, I'm not just a typical, athlete, like a traditional athlete, but I'm also not completely a content creator. So I kind of want somebody that's going to represent both, Yeah, and also somebody that respects PowerSlap, because, like I said, I don't mind people not liking it, but if you're gonna be my manager, I do want you to like it and like the organization and like me doing it. So it's been a little bit rough trying to find that.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're in a cool sweet spot because you can definitely promote PowerSlap and like the sports aspect of it, but you can also just do like lifestyle shit. Like
yes,
I think you can kind of take most brands that choose and pick and choose which brand you want, but there's a lot of like if I just talk about MMA, there are certain brands that would be weird if I just like took a sponsorship because it's not my
yeah,
content, but you
Mhm.
could easily do lifestyle stuff and just have that automatically fit in.
That's what I've been kind of trying to lean towards. Like, yes, this is my job, and like, let's talk about PowerSlap, but I really want to show the lifestyle. Like, oh, but it's given me this life, and like, I've been able to
You can take it in
change
whatever
things.
direction you want.
Yeah.
It's not tied to that.
So, yeah, I'm still trying to like learn all that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a very creative person. So, like, the creative stuff just doesn't really come naturally to me. So, like, if I sit down in front of my laptop and I have my coffee, I'm like, okay, let's be creative.
Do it
I have to like
hard
channel it. I'm like,
first.
okay.
I've been doing this for a few years now, and like, it's not like I'm huge, but just even like talking on camera and like feeling natural about it and creative, like it's taken a long time. Like, don't ever scroll back to my early TikToks. Don't do that.
And then I've like watched myself and I'm like, I'm so cringy. But then I know you have to be able to be cringy. So, oh my gosh.
It's horrible. Were you doing awesome? Do you have any like fights on the horizon, like MMA or boxing that you're looking towards? Or I know you said just PowerSlap for now.
Yeah, so I think with PowerSlap, since I am competing for the title,
Yeah.
I think when I have the title, I have to stay with PowerSlap.
Okay. Do you even like local promotions?
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, but I am staying in shape, and I do want to stay in shape so that if something comes about and I'm allowed to take it, I can take it, because I really want to fight again. I loved boxing. MMA is my love, so I want to get back in that MMA cage so bad. My grappling is not the best, but I can work on it.
You get through it.
Yeah.
So I feel like in my head when I've seen, and you do not need to tell me the specifics of this, but I heard that PowerSlap, they just don't pay very much. It's like $2,000 a show, but you're making enough that you don't have to work, which was surprising to me.
Yeah.
Like they pay more than I thought.
So I know that everyone gets paid very different in PowerSlap,
Of course.
and I will say we don't really talk to each other about how much each other's making. For me, the 2,000 is like nowhere near what I'm making.
Okay. Yeah, and you don't have to tell me that, but like I'm surprised that it's enough. That's awesome.
It's pretty good. Especially, in MMA, you're paying for a camp, you're paying, usually, paying out a manager, paying out your gym. This is like, I don't have a coach or anything. So not only is it a good amount of money, but it's all for me. So that's nice. And then, being able to make a living off like different sponsorships and different things. But yeah, I'm definitely not complaining about the PowerSlap money. And
hell yeah. So you don't have a coach, you don't have a manager. If they give you like a matchup, I guess it's not the same as like someone you're fighting in MMA. I guess there's only one move you can do.
Mhm.
But would you just say yes to whoever they offer you just because like how do you really scope out an opponent?
Yeah, so even going into my first one, I don't think I knew my opponent until like a week beforehand.
Okay.
And there's not that many girls right now. So pretty much in my division, I think I know every single one of them. There's a few girls I wouldn't want to stop just because they're like friends of mine. But at the end of the day, there's really no saying no. There's only so many of us.
Right.
So there's not a lot to choose from. So you just have to say yes, pretty much.
The girls in your weight class that you know?
Yeah. So
that's so fun. That would be a weird experience.
yeah. So one of my really good friends, Destiny, is actually, she has her first one. Is it announced yet? Yeah, they announced it. I don't want to like get in trouble. Okay. No, they announced it. So one of my really good friends, Destiny, has hers coming up. I'm so excited because we're competing on the same night, but we're in the same weight class. So I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have to like slap this girl that's one of my closest friends at some point?
Oh
And
my
we
God,
probably
that's
are.
funny.
But we already talked about it. That's like, okay, we're gonna try not to, but if it happens, hey, we're both gonna get up on that stage. We're girls, but we're gonna try to knock each other out. We know we're making money, so we'll be friends afterwards. So
Yeah, 100. I mean, that's what fighters
yeah,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I have gone over time a little bit. June 27th, go watch your fight. Go watch your match. I've been talking to fighters all day.
Okay, you could call it a fight. I just call it a match.
Just understand why, because you don't want people to say, like, it's not a fight.
Yeah.
But it's natural to, like, want to use that verbiage. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see you get the belt. I think it'll be super fun. Hey guys, Kennedy here. I am currently editing, and I realized that I totally forgot to ask Mikey what her Instagram handles were and social media. So that's on me being a terrible podcast host. I was a little too tired when I filmed this episode, so forgive me, Mikey. But you can go ahead and find her at MIKAEL-MICHELLE on Instagram. I'm gonna go ahead and put her handle down in the description.